So have you been experiencing resistance to meditation lately? Probably yes. I want you to know something. It's not because you're doing it wrong. And it's not because anything is wrong or off with you at all. I want you to know that it is part of the practice. It is part of the path itself. It is part of a package deal that comes with anything that we know to be good for us in the long run. We resist, we contract, we start thinking about all the other things that we should be doing, want to be doing, would rather be doing, how productive we could be with this time if we weren't committed to this disciplined activity, and so on. And it's not just meditation. It's anything that is good for us, isn't it? Eating the plate of vegetables instead of the bagel, going on the run or going to the yoga class, going to the therapy session, right? Drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, avoiding alcohol, avoiding sugar, avoiding gluten, these sorts of things. Right? All of them inspire resistance in us, and we love the idea of these things. When we're in the idea stage, conceiving of how we're going to show up, especially, how we're going to show up on a Monday morning, right? This is so common. We all have that fantasy of how we're going to get it together starting on Monday. It's going to be a new leaf. We're going to do it for real this time. Kind of like a mini New Year's Day, really. We all love the idea of these things, but then when it comes down to it, we want to stomp our feet like little kids. I don't wanna. Why? So I want to unpack this on 3 different levels. And hopefully in the demystification of this and the clarity of this, you get some insight and some ideas and some inspiration around how you can work with this and grow past it. You got to learn how to lovingly move past resistance. Soft discipline, gentle discipline is the way. But we can't do that if we don't actually comprehend what we're working with here. And so I'll talk about the biological level, the emotional level, and then the spiritual level, what's going on with resistance. At the biological level, you have this very important region of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. You've probably heard of this. It's the executive command center of the brain. In other words, all of your higher order functions are seated there. Not all of them, but a great deal of them. The prefrontal cortex is deeply involved in those processes, such as willpower and discipline. Notice that eating the plate of vegetables instead of the pizza, that involves some discipline. Sitting your butt down for 20 minutes in the morning involves some discipline. It involves some frustration tolerance. We'll get to that part in a moment. But the prefrontal cortex is overused, especially in this 21st century life. How many of us are overworked? How many of us are underslept? How many of us are way overdue for a vacation? How many of us keep taking on commitment after commitment after commitment, and then right in the middle of trying to knock out those commitments, it's somebody's birthday or barbecue or art opening or whatever that we now got to show up to as well, It's kind of relentless in this modern life. All the discipline that we have to apply, right? All the ways in which we have to show up, all the decisions that we have to make too. We have this term these days, decision fatigue. And we all know about this, that having to make too many decisions in a day, being confronted with too many choices, actually can scramble the brain into a tizzy, honestly. Ever be really hungry and there's like 7 different ethnicities of delicious, amazing food that's available and you just can't make the decision, right? So the prefrontal cortex is like a muscle. It's like a muscle, and in that, it can be overused and break down with overuse, If I did an hour of strength training, weightlifting, that would actually break down my muscles. Working out is actually a controlled injury, strangely enough. And then what would happen after an hour is I would need a solid rest period, usually 48 to 72 hours actually. And the strengthening from that weightlifting session will happen in the hours and days after the session when I'm resting that muscle. The strengthening does not come from the exercise itself. And if I were to do an hour of strength training, that's great. Now 2 hours. Now imagine 3 hours. Now imagine I did weightlifting for 5 hours straight. What would start to happen? Muscles breaking down. This thing that's supposedly good for me becomes something that's very bad for me, and injury is inevitable. So, same thing with the prefrontal cortex. When we use it and use it well and in a boundaried kind of way, and which means that we rest our sense of discipline, we rest our sense of like really showing up, we rest our sense of decision making, all of these things. It actually strengthens. You can grow the prefrontal cortex to be extremely strong. But if you're using it and using it and using it all day, and there's no rest, and then it's day after day, and there's no rest, there's no unstructured time, there's no time when your phone is shut off and you're just in nature, there's no time when you're away from obligation, you're away from having to really navigate your life in a concentrated way, prefrontal cortex is going to wear out, and it's not going to be there strong enough in the moment that you're confronted with broccoli versus pizza, or sitting meditation versus scrolling on your phone, or whatever it is. So we got to rest the prefrontal cortex. This is why in my personal time, I actually try to just let everything go and not go talk about spirituality and emotional intelligence and these things. I go and play music, or I go and put my feet on a snowboard, or I have incredibly unstructured days. Every Sunday is no plans allowed, totally unstructured, totally improv. Because we need this. We need this. It's a genuine need. Without that need being met, the rest of my disciplined life is going to fall apart. Now, emotional level. Resistance isn't actually about the activity at all. It's not about the meditation or the broccoli. It's about the emotions that parts of us are anticipating we will be met with in the activity, such as boredom, tedium, right? Not enough pleasure, not enough a hit of instant gratification, which is true of a plate of broccoli, which is sometimes true of meditation. It sometimes is dry or even frustrating. And so it's not really about the activity, though. It's about this underlying sense of, I won't be able to tolerate that. And we do. We are entrained in our society to have a sense of boredom is an absolute failure. I cannot take boredom at all. But think about how busy we are. I mean, from a certain vantage point, to be bored is actually a luxury. And the truth is, you're a survivor. You've handled way harder things. And constantly you handle way harder things than boredom and tedium and whatnot. You can absolutely not only just tolerate them, but even get curious. What is it like to be bored? What is it like to be in this place? You might find more there in that experience than you think there is. Fundamental truth, fundamental teaching is that all aspects of human experience are worthy fodder for transformation. You can cultivate insight, you can cultivate liberation from just about anything if you're in a curious, compassionate, open kind of place, inquisitive kind of place with those experiences. That's a teaching that comes direct from the Buddha, actually. So let's go to the spiritual level. The Tibetans say that whenever something auspicious is about to go down, and auspicious just means really special. Okay? Sacred just means very, very special. Whenever something special is going to happen, obstacles arise. Before certain holy days, there's a saying that it's a season of obstacles. And you expect for things to fall apart. You expect for things to not work out. You expect for calamity to ensue. But that calamity isn't a sign that it's not meant to be, or this is bad news and life isn't going well, or here it is happening to me again. Why me? Why me? Why today? It's not any of that at all, although it makes sense to take it at face value. But if we look a little deeper, isn't it true that every time something special is about to happen, something goes wrong, right? Whether it's a vacation or starting a new job, or, I have this experience all the time where something really cool is going to be going down for me tomorrow. And then I'm so excited about it that I can't sleep at night. And then I show up for the thing I've been excited about, like just totally depleted and unable to really appreciate and enjoy it. It happens all the time. And not just with, meditation or broccoli even, all kinds of other places in our lives. And so this teaching is here to tell us to expect it, right? I had a counselor once who used to say, when you make an audacious decision in your life, such as to get sober or to make some sort of meaningful change in your life, he said the universe is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, are you sure? In some way. And I really think our resistance is one form of that. The life itself asking us, are you sure? Do you really mean this? Are you really down to ride? Are you really going to go for it here? Because I'm going to test you. Okay? So we got to know this. One, so that we can recognize it when it comes up and not be confused by it. But two, as much as things going wrong, right, as you're about to engage in some new positive endeavor, the temptation is to say, maybe this is a sign that it's not meant to be. And this teaching cuts right through that automatic assumption we so commonly have and says, actually, no, it's not only meant to be. There's something waiting for you on the other side of all of this difficulty. So make sure to persevere. They say in AA meetings, don't leave before the miracle happens. Don't leave before the auspicious thing. You finally get to it. Right? Don't be fooled by your own resistance. And, I used to have this very long affirmation, I would say, before sitting on my meditation cushion in the morning, because I would literally be standing there at my meditation cushion looking at it going, what? Really? Do I gotta? And so I trained myself to respond to that reaction by saying, I welcome my resistance. It is giving me an opportunity to lovingly step past that resistance and to lovingly apply discipline in my life. Structure and freedom have a relationship. Discipline and happiness have a deep relationship. There really is no happiness without some level of discipline in your life. You cannot get it together without some level of discipline. And the things that are the most worth it are the things that are going to ask the most of you, more than you're ready to give. More than you're ready to give. And so we've got to find some way to remind ourselves in these moments, whether it's some weird long mantra like I just said, or some other way to remember that it's possible to lovingly apply discipline, to lovingly step past obstacles and resistance. Because we don't want discipline to be some harsh thing in our lives. There's enough harshness going on. But especially if you want that disciplined activity to stick in your life, it cannot be something that you're creating all these negative imprints of muscling through and being mean to yourself about it. You've got to find a way to softly say to that resistance, I see you, and you're not going to win. Not today. Not today. So I hope this helps you come up with your own ideas how to work with this very common experience. I hope this normalizes it for you and gives you permission to get creative about how you work with this, because it is the rest of your life and it is literally everything that is good for you. And if you want to do things that are good for you at all, and I know you do, you got to work on this a little bit. You got to figure it out in a gentle way, in a self-love kind of way. Thanks so much for your time and attention, y'all. I'll see you again soon.